Hello everybody, my name is Spy. Welcome to Spy Pie Gaming TV. If you're new here, go ahead and leave a like and comment if you find any part of this interesting. Today we're going to be talking about add-ons. And the reason we're talking about it is recently Final Fantasy XIV has banned, or is banning people specifically, for the use of third-party add-ons. This goes back about a week or two back, but there's been a lot more development on it. More people have thrown their hat into the ring, trying to discuss what they think about it, and I kind of want to talk about it myself. So, with that being said, let's jump into the video. The first thing I'd like to get off, right off the bat, is I think not every add-on is categorically the same whenever you look at them. Something as small as Magic Carpet for Elder Scrolls Online, which is an add-on that will allow you to fly around whenever you're using your home editor, to place your objects or whatever customize your home. That's not game breaking. That's a very minor add-on. Something like that really doesn't conflict with the game itself. It doesn't conflict with how the game is played. It only really offers functionality to people who do a niche part of the game on its own. That being said, there's also add-ons for on the other that being said, on the other end of the spectrum, we have things such as deadly boss mods for World of Warcraft, which is an add-on that essentially gives you a full fight readout as soon as you begin any fight. As you're going through the fight, you'll get constant messages and alerts and all kinds of things to direct you to where to go, when to go, how fast you should be going, and then really everything you need to know about a DPS fight. Or even from a tank perspective as well, and a healer as well. Deadly boss mods and bigwigs is another one that has been used to do the same kind of functionality. They've really become they were a seed in the community. Once they were planted, they couldn't really be dug out, and now they have grown their roots everywhere. And we see that with the current raid that came out in World of Warcraft. I didn't play it, but I have watched plenty of content about it to understand that this is not a balanced piece of content. It's not balanced for the people without deadly boss mods. So at a certain point, when does your add-on become integral to the way people are playing the game? And at what point does it give too much power? That's really the defining factors between these things. Never is there an add-on that is going to be equally as powerful in one game across to another game. Each game has its own community. It has its own people that play it. So really, it's what is the community and the UI and the functionality of the game? What is supported officially? And from there, where does the changes coming along by a third-party add-on start to diminish or take away some of the game that you would have to do normally and replace it with a functionally superior, or in many cases, a full readout of what you should do? At that point, if it begins to get to that kind of level and it rolls on and on and on, and you have a add-on that such as Deadly Boss Mods that has become part of the raiding scene. You do not raid without Deadly Boss Mods, and most people know this in World of Warcraft. Most people in real raiding guilds, and I say that like that, and I understand that some people will be like, well, I raid LFR. That's not you. We're talking about people in raiding guilds, and we're not talking about normal raiding guilds in World of Warcraft. We're talking about heroic and mythic level. Mythic level to a much lower degree as well, though, because this is not something that inherently affects the high end. This is not something that actually affects the high end that much. The high end players are going to get this anyway. They already know the tools, they know the way that the game operates, and they know the community around it. They invest in it. That's why they're on YouTube. The hardcore players are typically the ones that are going to make content and watch content about this. If you're watching this, odds are you're more hardcore than you are casual. So you probably already have add-ons in your game. The ones that make your class or your gameplay better, or at least give you all the tools, all of them, as many as you need, directly in front of you. Now, you can't blame a player for wanting that kind of level of power. Absolutely not. If Deadly Boss Mods is being used, why aren't you using it too? Obviously, players are going to react to the shifting metas. This is gonna happen regardless of what's going on outside of the sphere. So, when it comes to these kind of things, what can a game developer do to diminish the level in which it diminishes its game? What can a developer do to stop these kind of add-ons from being created, or at least slow them down, or at least not have the use for them? It's very simple. Firstly is UI management. Many times, ESO included, they don't have great UIs. They don't have movable UIs in the same way, or they're very restricted UIs. They don't give you all the information, perhaps, such as World of Warcraft today, not giving you stats that you can and will be using, but you these are things a part of your class. Like, you can't even see your speed level in WoW anymore without an add-on. A developer putting time and resources into add-on or into functionality for the UI itself means that add-ons have no place there anymore. Such as Elder Scrolls Online wrapping in sky shards into the official game. Well, now you no longer need the add-on sky shards to know where sky shards are. You can also do the same thing by looking a map up, though. It's really not that much of a big difference when it comes to it. That isn't a level of power, that's a level of information. You're getting information delivered to you on your map. You don't have to go outside of the game to look at this now. It is inside the game now. And nowadays, you don't even have to download an add-on to get this functionality. This is baked in now. So by developers taking the time and making the game more accessible to reading its own stats, reading the gameplay, reading what's going on in your UI, you've already established a level of where add-ons aren't really gonna take place there as much. If you have a fantastic UI, if the game allows you to do whatever you want with it and move its UI however you want, add mini maps and stuff like that, if a game had that level of customization, the add-on market for it really wouldn't be as expansive. It just wouldn't be. Because why would anyone create something if it's already in the game? Secondly, things that developers can do to fix this kind of thing is also making fights easier to read. This goes back to the same thing I said about UI, but it works in combat as well. As stupid as it sounds, sometimes mechanics aren't clear. And I understand that, and you guys, have definitely fought bosses that you just don't know what happened. Like, you die, and you weren't sure. It happens to all of us. Hell, I play ESO pretty regularly. I play it all the time. This is my main MMO. And I still come across, like, world bosses that I was like, oops, I should have blocked there. It happens. That kind of thing shouldn't happen as often, though. And for Elder Scrolls Online, I'm happy to say that it doesn't happen very often. Easily, you can audio and visually see and hear what is going on. Before the thing happens, the boss will shout and he'll start to ready in action. That is the majority of combat in Elder Scrolls Online. Same thing happens in other MMOs as well. Final Fantasy, however, is a very large, almost too fantastical in the way that its animations are. And for that, it may be difficult for a player to determine what is going on the boss fight due to the increased amount of just visual particle effects going on. That alone can really hold back what's going on in a fight. Like, it's information that's behind a wall now, and that wall is all your spells. And you're not going to slow your DPS so that you can look for a mechanic. Not if everything you do causes an animation that large. So that's another thing to look out for. Animations, audio, those kind of things help out with a player determining what is going on. And without that, that's where DBM comes in. That's when we have more add-ons such as this. Thirdly, there is one last thing that I think but I don't think this is always the best option, and that is to limit the API, limit what is going on behind the scenes, what people can create. Now, I think that I don't necessarily disagree that API should be limited. Like, it would be ridiculous to assume that the API should be completely open and allow anyone to create anything for this MMO, massively multiplayer online RPG, to, like, I mean, it would just destroy the game. It would destroy the integrity of the files, it would destroy the integrity of the servers. So that obviously is not what I'm saying when I mean by I don't like the API being limited. What I mean by that is at some point the limitations become more than just functional. Absolutely, I do not think that developers should shun the add-on community. Well, the add-on community has become something that every one of us enjoy, or at least the majority of us who play MMOs understand that most of them aren't bad for the game. But there are some that will cause problems. Take the Frostvault. Take Frostvault, for instance. The last boss there is a large mechanical sphere, and he has two arms that need to be broken off, as well as a middle part that is his actual core. The core cannot be damaged until the arms are broken, and he also has a intermission phase where you are to go and activate a Skeevatron, go inside the robot, and it's a whole mechanic. The difference between a player who has an accurate readout of that fight is a difference in the entire fight going right or wrong. Because it is very easy during those times of like chaos that is sewn into that level of combat. Like, this fight was made for chaos. It was meant to be a panic. There are things running around. There are AoEs on the ground. There are massive swinging cleaves. You need to be careful. That is the point of this fight. It teaches you movement, and it teaches you to be safe. So, whenever it asks you to go to one of the four corners of the room, that can be dangerous to do, especially on hard mode and vet. So that kind of fight doesn't make sense whenever you have a readout telling you that the Skeevatron starts in 15 seconds. If you saw that, you would know that you have plenty of time to get over there, and you would know when to start moving, and you'd have an advantage over the other players around you. Whereas everyone else who's just playing will have to go off the visual and audio off the game, which is plenty of time. Let's not say that this fight's unbalanced, because it is. It's balanced. It's very, very well done. But it's made for a panic. And a panic is, well, it's better whenever everyone is just now alerted that they need to be running. It's more fun, it's more engaging, as well as it requires more skill on the player. These type of add-ons that change the way the game is played from a gameplay perspective, not from a casual entirely perspective, which I don't necessarily think isn't gameplay, but what I'm saying is that from a in combat, in fighting, during hard mode content, if it changes the way people approach and the way people complete difficult content, at that level, it's no longer helpful for the community. It's actually a detriment. It's a crutch. It's something we have to lean on now. And that's why I think a lot of people are so upset about the banning of add-ons. They're used to having all of this. And you can't take something away from a player after giving it to them or allowing it for such a long period. It's a very difficult thing to do. Most players will say, this is a problem, I don't like this, I want my old thing back. Because they've become accustomed to it. It's become a crutch. And for many of them, it's probably the only way their guild, including many of the ones that I've been in. I'm not at all saying that I'm better, that than anyone else in games. I'm just saying that it's possible that many of the guilds I've been in would not have been able to clear content if we did not have multiple group members with DBM. And I'm not going to call out any names, but it's how it is. Some people just can't get the mechanics down. And on this channel, especially, me and Jack very much support the whole From Software situation where they make games that are difficult. They don't make an easy mode. The game wasn't designed that way. So, on one side, that makes sense. It makes sense that the game's difficulty should stay the same across all players. It wouldn't be fair that your buddy got an achievement for something that he spent half the amount of time on as you. You should be able to conceivably, with the same level of power, complete content at the same rate, if everyone is paying attention. This is not something that's like, I don't think too dramatic to say. Hard content happens to be difficult, and having things read out the mechanics to you changes the dynamic of what you're doing. You're no longer focusing on the fight. You're focusing on what's coming up, which is something that the game hasn't even told you yet. So that's a real problem for people who don't want to play that way, who would rather fight the fight as it comes out, as it comes to them, as the mechanics unfurrow. On the other end of the spectrum, however, I'm going to go ahead and play devil's advocate and say that I don't think all add-ons should be banned. I really don't. Like some things such as, well, Lazy Writ Crafter. Lazy Writ Crafter is probably the best thing to come to ESO in a long time. And I didn't believe Jack when he said it, and I haven't told him yet, but I did download it, and it made my life easier. All you do is you pick up your daily quest to craft something, go over to a crafting table, and then bang bang, it just does it automatically. Alright? Like, you gotta craft 3 swords. Like, every day do I have to craft 3 swords? It's really getting exhausting. Like, it's just a bit much. I've been doing this for a long time. I've been playing the game for a little while now. I don't really need to be having to do this every day all the time. Like, and in reality, what does this do? This cuts 30 seconds off of the entire time that I would spend crafting my dailies. That's it. 30 seconds. It would probably normally take me a minute or two. So, is it really that big of a deal? Not really. What about add-ons that gut the fish automatically for you? For anyone who doesn't know, fish in ESO are, well, you have to click on each one individually to gut them. And these are, the reason you do that is for 1, fish, the material, and 2, for the perfect row. Perfect row being used in a plethora of things, including mythic ambrosias and whatever. Irregardless, the point is that the whole point is this add-on, right? All it does is it takes the fish and it guts them one by one by one by one. All you got to do is click on it once. Does that change the game? Not really. Is that a power bonus? An insignificant one. A very insignificant one. Something that I wouldn't even really consider an advantage? I mean, unless you're holding a competition. But in that case, I mean, that's just roleplay, guys. And so I don't see that being a huge thing. That's not something that's going to break the game. Auto-refilling your soul gems. That's not going to be a problem. You spend 10 seconds every hour in your menus? I mean, that's not a big deal. Alright, so we've gone through a few of the things that I would consider big deals, and we've gone through the things that are small, insignificant things, the add-ons that really do minor bonuses. What about the ones in between? What about, like, well, a mini-map? Many of you guys have probably seen on our channel, we use mini-map add-ons. What about that? Well, I think a mini-map is fine. Only in some cases, though. And we have to look at it from that perspective as well, because we're not just talking about Elder Scrolls Online. This came from Final Fantasy. This is a problem Final Fantasy had. This is a problem that World of Warcraft developers have been talking about. So where does that leave Elder Scrolls Online? Well, we haven't heard anything from our devs, but it's something we should be talking about. One thing that becomes an industry standard, it will eventually leak into the other parts of the games, other franchises. We've seen this before. When World of Warcraft was on top, well, it dictated what came out. And with Final Fantasy being on top now, that's a real weird way of looking at it, but it is. Final Fantasy is now on top. And that means that what they set as standard, what they allow in their game, that changes the way the game's played. That changes the way the MMORPG will evolve and go with time. They're the industry leader. So, what about minimaps? Well, minimaps are fine. Why would they not be fine? Oh, I mean, if your game doesn't have a map, that'd be a problem, wouldn't it? Or if your game doesn't have a map that's detailed, that would be another problem. If the minimap was to show detailed information, that could be a problem. I'm not saying that it is, but I'm saying that it could be. It could potentially become a problem for developers that want to create a balanced situation for all players. What about minimaps, though? Why is the minimap in Elder Scrolls Online okay? You might be asking, why is that one fine? What specifically about this one's fine? Because it does not give any information that you could not receive already by simply just pressing M. It literally pulls the resource from the map, I'm pretty sure, because it seems to work that way. As well as it gives mini-maps for dungeon locations, which is a huge problem in Elder Scrolls Online. Because, like, I don't know if you guys know this, but sometimes the map kind of sucks because you're trying to open it and run and open it and run and close it and run, and it just, you open up the whole UI every time that you want to open the map when running. A mini-map just solves that. It solves the button press of an M. It takes away a clunky UI and replaces it with the same feature, the same level of usability. It's such a minor difference in the way that it's played. So when it comes to this level of add-on, the middle ground, these things are typically fine. The only thing that really I think we should be looking out for, or should maybe be putting on the reserve for a while, you know, looking at and saying these might get cut soon, are the add-ons that directly inform the player of information they shouldn't have at the moment they're getting it. That's it. That's the only difference. If it's an on-demand function and instead being placed in front of you, that's fine, because you could have the information instantly anyway, so that it doesn't really matter, does it? If it's something small that allows you to simplify some of the, friction, let's be honest, some of the friction in the gameplay, that's not really a big deal either. But when you have an add-on that is telling the player as the fight starts that in a moment they need to be doing a whole different mechanic, something that they might not know their first time, something that they should learn to fight on their own, and instead guiding them towards that and teaching them by just doing it for them, you're creating a crutch on a player base. And that's where we start to see a divide in the amount of people that can actually clear content. Because the day your add-on doesn't work, are all of us sure that we could kill the bosses? Anyway, this has been Spy. Once again, I'd like to say thank you all for watching. This is my channel, as well as Jack. Jack is currently has a video that came out yesterday. You guys should go check it out, about Red Petal Bastion. It was awesome. I love all of the Pug stuff, and actually I'll be doing some of my own Pug stuff soon. I recently went through Stone Garden, and it was just a mess. It was a total disaster, but you know, you just gotta run with it. And You know what? I'm kind of thinking that it's really not a huge deal when it comes to add-ons entirely. You know, this is all just my opinion, and I hope no one's gonna take this, as like gospel. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. Thank you all for watching. This has been Spy here, and I'll see you all in the next video.